Steve Alcorn's a fine investigator. What he's doing with this Chris dude, I have no idea.
I gave her cigarettes for our anniversary one year.
Well, there you go. That's fucking romantic.
She didn't like gifts. I said, well, I want to get you something. What do you want? Let's give me a couple packs of cigarettes. So I wrapped them up and gave them to her.
Yeah, have some lung cancer.
You got a dead Bigfoot that's just been shot, hanging upside down in a tree. Though Meldrum was also careful to note, it's not a course about Bigfoot.
It's a course about Fozzie Bear. Who's Fozzie Bear? Some say his father was half grizzly. Nobody believed he was real. As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a Muppet. To me, that was better than being president of the United States.
They upped my meds last night, so anything's possible. We're laughing at a story about dead people. I can't explain it, but it sure makes me feel like the spirits are happy.
I mean, I guess you could say it might have been somebody's hand moving real quick, but it's not a fucking ghost.
The jury's still out on that.
See, your hoaxes come at you with smiles. They come as your friends.
Pope Francis says doggy heaven is real, so your dog has a soul.
Ah, so now the dogs can hang out with the pedophiles.
Not Benedict, Francis, Pope Francis.
No, I'm just guilt by association, Steve.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's what they say when they talk about me and you.
Yeah, there you go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Fortean Slip, episode 62. Ooh. This is the German-engineered fake meat episode. You can thank Jim Payne on YouTube for this. Anybody who is upset with this show, which I don't know that you will be, should thank Jim Payne, because this was his baby. I asked you all to give us ideas, which I am sorting through and figuring out which ones I want to do. Today,
and this is the one you chose.
Today we do
first.
We do the origins of the Volkswagen Beetle and Spam.
Volkswagen.
And without further ado, because I could give a fuck, I give it over to Steve Alcorn.
Well, these are, two subjects that are close to my heart, Chris. So,
yes.
I thank you. I thank you for allowing me to...
You are a man who put fucking Christmas lights on a broken down Volkswagen in his front yard.
It's not broken down. It runs. It's just,
So did the two cars that my father had on blocks in the yard.
It's not on blocks, man. It's on it runs under its own power. It's just a little sick right now.
Listen, a Flintstones car doesn't count.
There's no holes in the floor. As far as Volkswagen Beetles go, being 90% original at least, that car is pretty damn good shape, I have to admit. Right. And I got it for $700, so I think I did well. And I owned it before, which is really cool.
And made by your favorite Jew killers.
I'm not a fan of Jew killers. Hitler did have quite a few good ideas, except for that Jew thing. The Jew thing,
Think you went a little far there?
I think that one was, probably not a good idea. But, he is responsible.
You think there were a couple of people around him who were like, hey, man, we're all for all this other shit, but...
The modern Olympics, basically, is because of Hitler. He wanted, to bring it back, and so that's why we have the Olympics the way we do now. So, I mean, that was a good idea. And, of course, the Volkswagen Beetle. How can we go wrong with a car like that? And I'm supposed to do this show pretty much on my own, I think, because you don't know a damn thing about these cars, do you, Chris?
I don't have a clue.
And you don't even give a shit.
No, not really.
So originally, the Volkswagen Beetle, a lot of people don't know, but the original name of it was the KDF Wagen. And I can't pronounce the German words, and I'm not even going to try, but basically it translates into strength through joy. It wasn't originally called the Volkswagen. It's called the Strength Through Joy car.
It translates to, we make chicken fucking porn.
It would be funny if it did. The actual real name, see, the word Beetle isn't the name of the car. You don't go and title an old Beetle as a Beetle. You title it as a Volkswagen Type 1. So that's what they really are called. But the original term that was used for it was, besides the Strength Through Joy car, was the Koffer. Koffer. You said that the A with the two dots was
I'm not sure. I think so.
Koffer. Anyway, so which means beetle, basically. So it's pretty cool. But it came about before the war when Hitler was like just getting started, I guess. And he had seen a Jewish guy whose name was Joseph Gans, and he had a car that was very similar to the Beetle. In fact, it was called the Maybug. So I think the name may have come from that. There's a lot of controversy on who actually designed the original car, but back in the 1930s, in the late 20s and early 30s, there was a race to become the first.
And like much later in his life, he killed that Jewish person and took his ideas.
I do believe that Joseph Gans was imprisoned right around the same time that Hitler contracted with Ferdinand Porsche to design the original Beetle. Porsche had also had a car very similar that he was designing back in those days. It was called the Type 12, I think. But it looked a lot like the Beetle. But a lot of cars back then did, because that was the next step in the evolution of cars, was to make a small, affordable car.
That's absolutely wonderful, Steve. Keep going, Steve. I got something I got to go do.
All right. So anyway, I'll see you when you get back, Chris. Chris, where are you? I guess, folks, tonight this is my show, so I get to talk about what I want. And tonight we're talking about Volkswagen Beetles and Spam. So the original design for the Beetle was probably taken from Joseph Gans in the 1933 car show there in Germany, and Gans wanted to put on a car for the people. So the idea came from that concept. You back yet, Chris?
Did I miss anything, Steve?
No.
Oh, okay.
Why don't you just carry on? I'll do the show on my own. I'm good.
All right. You can carry on then.
Oh, okay. So anyway, the Beetle actually went into production after the war in 1946 because it was supposed to go into production before the war, but then Hitler kind of invaded some countries, and that whole war thing got in the way, and then the plant in Wolfsburg got blown up and shit. So the Beetle didn't actually go into production until after the war, and it was actually the British who took over the plant, which is pretty cool. And it was like half destroyed, so they had to rebuild the plant, but the original plans and blueprints were still there, so they took it over, and I can't remember the English dude's name, but he took over the development of the car. And that's why we have the Beetle the way we do now, because the British actually manufactured it. And finally, eventually, they gave it back to the Germans.
That's why the Beetle can cook a Jewish person.
But here's the thing. If we didn't have the war, I don't think, if the war hadn't happened, we wouldn't have this car the way it is. It was a revolutionary car. I mean, you got to admit, thousands, millions of them were sold. They were the best-selling car since the Model T at the time. I think there's another car that actually took over that spot.
Steve,
now.
Believe it or not, I actually know a little something about the Volkswagen. Not a lot.
Volkswagen.
I know a little bit.
Well, I know a lot.
I know,
can take
like,
one apart and put it back together.
I know that, like, the engine's in the back.
Right.
In the original ones. The ones they make now, they've moved it. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Right? Correct?
The engine is in the back, and it's air-cooled, not water-cooled. Like, the new Volkswagens are all water-cooled, but... Right. And that's mostly because of government emissions regulations, especially in the States.
My father was, like, huge into World War II. Like, fucking just... Right. I got World War II shit shoved down my throat from the time I can remember until the time I left the house and after. But one of the things that he he fucking ranted and raved about was the Volkswagen Beetle. How,
And
you know,
as well, he should have.
how great of a car it was. The engineering on it was great. Of course, him and my uncle always were talking about the German engineered tanks as well,
Right.
which were far better than the American tanks. And that's not just saying that. That's fact. It's just fucking fact. You know, and I make jokes all you want, you know, about whatever I do. I mean, but they fucking made some great shit.
Well, I'll tell you, my Beetle was a 1970. Of course, you know, it's not the originals, and you know, those if you can find like a 1946 Beetle in the States, you're doing something. And it's going to go for a ton of money. But mine's a 70, and it's not the most sought after year. But that car sat for 13 years without being started, ran, or anything like that. There was mouse nests in the fucking engine, and it starts up. And you got to say something about the engineering if that car still runs after sitting that long and having mouse nests in it. And I had to take it, you know, parts of the engine off to get some of the shit out of there. But as soon as I took them all off and put it back together, this fucker runs like, you know, the day it was new. So, and that engine's got well over 100,000 miles on it. It's not like it's a new replaced engine. It's the original engine, and those cars were great, man. And I fell in love with them back in the 70s. My uncle had I want to say a 73 Super Beetle, which is a little different than the regular Beetle, but the main difference between a Super Beetle and a regular Beetle is that the Super Beetles after 72 had a curved front windshield, and they all had struts in the front instead of shocks. And the original Beetles had this shocks like mine does. So that's the only real difference between the two. But everything after 70, I can't remember. Most of the convertibles after 73 were Super Beetles. Most of the convertibles, but anyway,
Fascinating.
it's all good, man. I love the car. It's a great car.
That's wonderful. Obviously,
You know that in '78 or around in the late '70s they introduced the Golf, and it was supposed to take over for the Beetle, but the Golf was kind of a big flop back then. Obviously they stayed around for a while, but it didn't do as good. But Beetles were produced all the way up until around 2003, I think it was, in Brazil or Mexico or something like that. The original.
Whew. Wow, it's amazing. Did they fly or cast magic spells or?
Well, there is one. That,
I'm just trying to figure out what this has to do with the show that we do.
Herbie. Well, ask Jim Payne. He's the one who came up with this idea. There was one Beetle that had, you know, a life of its own. That was Herbie. You know, my favorite movies of all time, of course. I enjoy the Herbie movies. I'm looking for a Herbie movie poster. The original, if anybody knows where I can get an original Herbie movie poster, not the, you know, Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo or the Mexico one or anything. The original, the Love Bug. I want that movie poster. So if anybody knows where I can get it, message me on
Charge
Facebook
him
or leave a comment.
copious amounts of money for it.
But it was a great movie.
Bend Steve over if you have this poster.
Actually, I can get one on
He gets
eBay
more
pretty cheap.
deals than he gets more deals. All right, I'm gonna leave it right there because I was just gonna say something really, really bad.
Last time you called me a pedophile, so we're not gonna go there. Anyway, so Walt Disney happened to see one of his employees had a Beetle out in the parking lot, and he fell in love with the car, and that's how the Herbie movies came about. And Herbie was a ghost car, right? I mean, he had a mind of his own, so he had some sort of spirit.
Old Walt didn't like the Jews either.
I don't know. Walt probably didn't, but we don't know. I mean, I can't prove
Allegedly.
that. Allegedly. Now, I think we've talked enough about my favorite car, so let's talk about my favorite canned meat
it's all about
product
you,
now.
Steve.
This is my show.
It's all about
Jim
you.
Payne wanted
It's
it.
all about
Jim Payne's gonna get it.
Nothing about, UFOs or time travel. By the way, check out my new John Teeter parody.
Oh God, that was great, man. That John Teeter time travel thing you did today was it was top notch. Top notch. And I like the Justin Smia one too. That was pretty good.
Yeah, they are
very funny.
They are all doing well.
Speaking of which, my video on the Arizona Bigfoot debunking just hit over 200,000 views.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome. If you guys haven't checked out, or even if you have, go to a friend's house and
watch it from there. Make sure you click on the ads and stuff.
Yeah, and do it on their account, not on yours.
Yeah, because I think it only counts once.
It's be smart, people.
That auto clicker I installed works really good. No, it's not auto clicker. I just want to say briefly before I get into the spam portion of the show that like ABC in Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, Philadelphia, Phoenix, and New York City all picked up that video, and that's why it did so well. They put it on their websites. I don't think they actually had it on their show, but they may have. Being that I don't live in any of those places, I don't know for sure, but I do know for a fact that that's where a lot of my views came from. Also, 800whistleblower.com, which is like a government oversight type website, and some of those kind of websites picked it up. So I want to thank all those people for picking it up, and not that they're ever going to hear this, but because nobody in Los Angeles
and he'd like to
this
thank
show.
NAMBLA, not for any, reason affiliated with this video.
Spam is a brand of several canned pre-cooked meat products made by the Hormel Foods Corporation. Anyway, Spam was first introduced in 1937. You may know it from the Monty Python sketch, which was done in the 70s.
I don't like Spam.
But anyway, Spam is my absolute favorite food of all time. And I don't know why, but it just is. So, but anyway, the original, the original reason Spam came about is because they had leftover pork shoulder, and they didn't know what the hell to do with it, so they chopped it up and put it in a can. And they had this contest, and this was 1937. They had this contest, and one of the brothers, I think it was a New Year's Eve, they had a New Year's Eve party for the Hormel Corporation. One of the brothers of one of the executives came up with the name Spam, and he won $100 for doing it. So that's where the name came from. And they like to say that the name has some special meaning, but basically it means spiced ham or shoulders of pork and ham. But there's no real secret meaning. But the Hormel company would like you to believe there is.
It means leftover shit.
Right. The reason Spam became popular, for the same reason maybe the Beetle became popular, is because World War II. It was soldier rations because it was easy to pack, it was easy to ship, and it didn't need refrigerated, that kind of thing, because it has got so much preservatives in it. I wonder, if you take a McDonald's burger, and there's been YouTube videos on this shit, and you set it out for like 2 years, I think there's one video that's gone on for 5 years now. The burger doesn't change at all because of the preservatives they put in it. I wonder if it would be the same for a can of Spam. I'm going to have to do that. Like a time-lapse video on a can of Spam for 5 years and see what happens to it.
You get right on that, Steve.
5 years from now, I'll release the results in a peer-reviewed study. Well, speaking of peer-reviewed studies, Dr. Todd Disotell, of NYU, he's a big Spam lover. Bob, our friend Bob, loves Spam.
Yeah,
loves it.
Bob has a fucking flask the size of a pillow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. All right. You're saying that the man likes Spam. He has a flask the size of a pillow.
Okay.
Let's put things
Fred
in.
Dunn,
Let's put things in perspective.
Our illustrator for our show.
Dread Fun.
Fred Dunn. Dread Fun. Dread Fun.
Yeah, same difference. But
he's a huge Spam fan.
If you have, and again, if you have not gone and clicked on a fucking Dread Fun video, stop the show. Go watch
pause
a fucking.
Don't click off the show.
Go
Just
watch a
pause
fucking Dread Fun video. This show's piss. Just shut it off.
So anyway, after the war, when the UK was rebuilding, a lot of Spam went over there because they needed cheap, easy foods, and so Margaret Thatcher herself referred to the product as a wartime delicacy. So Margaret Thatcher, what was she, the Prime Minister or something?
Yeah.
Is that what they have over there, Prime Ministers?
Yes.
She loved this stuff. And then Nikita Khrushchev said without Spam, they wouldn't have been able to feed their army. So, I mean, Spam between that and M&M's, Steve. M&M's. I haven't done a history of M&M's yet.
M&M's were also used for the soldiers.
The entire state of Hawaii considers Spam a delicacy.
That's amazing.
It's true, though.
I'm all in, Steve. Where do I buy this? Where do I buy this amazing meat?
Probably at your local convenience store.
Oh.
You know that in the Northern Mariana Islands, that McDonald's restaurants serve Spam?
No.
They do.
Excellent.
Oh, so we can't do a show about Spam without kind of referring to the email spam and internet spam that you get. The Hormel company has actually never, how do you say it, never been upset with the use of the term.
Oh.
Because, obviously, it brings attention to their product. But they did say something to the effect that someday people are going to wonder why Hormel is named after junk email. Hormel's product.
Ah!
That was kind of funny. But the first spam email.
Okay.
They have had a couple lawsuits. They own the rights to the capitalized version of the word. But because spam is such a well-known term on the internet, as far as junk emails and junk messages and things like that, they lost the lawsuits that they had against people who were using capitalized versions of the term, which is weird because it's actually probably in the dictionary if you go look at it at meaning junk email and shit like that. But the first one was sent in 1978, believe it or not. It was some sort of computer advertisement, and the guy actually sold a few computers that way. So that was pretty cool. And that's all I really know about Spam, to be honest with you. My favorite version of Spam is the original. But there's like 13 or 14 different flavors you can get. Garlic, cheese, bacon, turkey Spam. I think next Thanksgiving, Chris, I'm going to have turkey Spam.
Steve, listen, just for the fans, be real. Your favorite Spam flavor is cum.
I have not had that flavor. I have had low sodium Spam. Spam light I've had, yeah. Mm-hmm. But you can get like bacon and egg Spam if you really want it. It's really cool.
I'm thrilled.
I think I'm done.
Can you tell?
I think I'm done, Chris. This show sucked. Thanks, Jim Payne, for the idea, but I can't run a show. So. Chris keeps telling me, "Oh, you need to do your own thing sometimes. You got to do your own thing. You could do this. You could." This is proof that there's no way. It's not going to happen.
No, I think if you did interviews, you could do well with stuff like that, and the way you do your breakdowns, your stuff like that. That's the stuff that I think that you need to focus on. But yeah, anywho,
running a podcast, fuck that, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I actually could if I knew more about. You know, I love Spam and I love Volkswagens, and I do know a lot about Volkswagens and shit. But to do an actual show on it, nah, I'm not.
You're welcome, people.
I don't know a lot about Spam.
Steve, do you have some fucking news?
No Spam related news.
No, I just mean news in general. You know.
Oh, yes, I have news in general. For our first story tonight, we're going to go to ancient-origins. Origins. Did I say that right this time?
No.
.net.
No.
Remember, you notice in the show tonight, I said history instead of origins because I can't say that word right. My own son, or my own nephew the other day yelled at me for saying origins wrong.
As he should.
And he's only 14. Mm-hmm. Did humans walk the earth with dinosaurs? Apparently they found this Triceratops horn that dates to around 33,500 years. A Triceratops brow horn discovered in Dawson County, Montana, has been controversially dated to be around 33,500 years old, challenging the view that dinosaurs died out
probably 65 million years old.
Well, it challenges the fact that dinosaurs were around 65 million years old, or died out around 65 million years ago. The finding radically suggests that early humans may have once walked the earth with the fearsome reptiles thousands of years ago. The Triceratops brow horn was excavated by paleontologist Otis Klein Jr., microscope scientist Mark Armitage, and microbiologist and avocational paleontologist, whatever, Kevin Anderson in May 2012. And 2 horn samples were given to Glendive Dinosaur and Fossil Museum in Montana. The samples were then sent to the University of Georgia Center for Applied Isotope Studies for Carbon-14 dating, which yielded an estimated date of 33,570 plus or minus 120 years for the first sample, and 41,010 plus or minus 220 years for the second. Triceratops, a name meaning 3-horned face, is a genus of herbivorous ceratopsid. Jay Cooney's going to kill me.
That's pretty good.
That is said to have yeah, whatever. That is said to have first appeared during the late some sort of stage of the Cretaceous period, about 6 to 8 million years ago.
I'm sure that's exactly what it is.
In what is now North America. Yeah. And apparently became extinct around 66 million years ago. However, scientists from the Paleochronology Group, a team of consultants in geology, paleontology, chemistry, engineering, and education, who perform research relating to anomalies of science, maintain that dinosaurs did not die out millions of years ago, and that there is substantial evidence that they were still alive as recently as 23,000 years ago. Until recently, carbon-14 dating was never used to test dinosaur bones, as the analysis is only reliable up to 55,000 years. Scientists never considered it worthwhile to run the test, since it's generally believed that dinosaurs have been extinct for 65 million years. Based on radiometric dating of the volcanic layers above or below fossils, a method which the Paleochronology Group states has serious problems and gross assumptions must be made. It became clear years ago that paleontologists were not just neglecting to test dinosaur bones for C14 content, but were refusing to. Normally, a good scientist will be curious about the ages of important fossil bones. Hugh Miller, a research and consulting chemist and head of the Paleochronology. You can read the rest of the story on ancientorigins.net. Chris will put a link down below. How's that for shortening an article, Chris?
There you go.
I don't know. There's too many words in that one. I'm just not good with big words. In our next story from io9.com, I guess there's a crowdfunded thing for Lovecraftian science and more. But I don't know what Lovecraftian is until you told me a few minutes ago. So you might have to repeat that. So because I have no idea.
Okay.
But,
Continue on,
this week's
newsman.
look at all things crowdfunding offers everything you could want. Well, probably not, but it's still a deep dive into the science of H.P. Lovecraft, awesome tabletop accessories, robot comics, and a year of classic horror movies. The nifty set of hex-based terrain tiles lets you create and set up huge, cool-looking boards to play tabletop games of all sorts easily instead of digging out the green playing mat again and again. From the creators of War of Kings comes Battleaxe, a hexagon-based modular terrain system that is ready right out of the box to turn your whole table into an elegant battlefield worthy of your miniatures, no matter what game you play on it. That sounds cool, Chris.
That actually is pretty fucking cool.
I remember when I was a kid, there was a company called Mark's Toys. Actually, the company was based right here in my hometown of Girard, Pennsylvania. And they made these little sets, and you could get like knights and cowboys and Indians and stuff, but they came in this tin box, and it was kind of the same idea. You open this box, and you had all these little figures and shit, and you could, it's like a fantasy world. It wasn't actually a game, but you could play with them. It was really cool.
Right.
I still have some of that stuff. But anyway. Just one box adds great artistic effects to a whole table, making it extremely practical. There's nothing to assemble, paint, or flock, and the terrain itself doesn't get in the way of your miniatures during the game. In short, Battleaxe is a fantastic terrain without the hassle.
That's something that might make me get into tabletop strategy games.
It does sound fun. It sounds actually pretty cool, and I might actually want to buy this. It's $64. A $64 pledge nets you one complete tile set, 61 hexes, enough to make a 6x4 foot terrain board when they're due to ship in July of this year. I'm still not sure what Lovecraftian stuff is, but it sounds like a shit ton of fun.
Well, no, that's just tile sets. The next part of that is the story.
Steve. Oh, I gotta read more?
There's more to the story, Steve.
Lovecraft's collection of tales often relied on science and scientific concepts to better creep the living bejesus out of us. I love that word, bejesus. Interested in learning more about them, look no further than this volume of articles investigating the scientific background of Lovecraft's most infamous stories.
See, this is the part where I point out to Steve that he read a whole portion of the article that he really didn't need to. If Steve was the fabulous newsman that we all think he is.
I am not a fabulous newsman. What portion of the article would you like me to read, Chris?
Just the Lovecraft part.
That was Lovecraft. It said Lovecraft in there. Lovecraft's collection of tales often relied on science and scientific.
Right. Now,
anyway, where do we go to buy this thing?
Look at the article.
Okay, I'm looking at it.
Okay, there's a middle part, right? Okay.
Digital Gem Cinema.
There's the hex part, and then the Lovecraft part, and then there's like a monster kind of part. And we could have gone with the monster part too.
We could have done the monster part, but I want to know where you find this. It doesn't give you a link.
I don't know, but
anyway,
it's a crowdfund, or which is what you said is similar to like a Kickstarter thing, Steve.
Crowdfunding, Kickstarter,
it's the same idea.
All those kind of websites are funded stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so but Lovecraft, H.P. Lovecraft wrote a bunch of these books or short stories. I can't remember like the whole gist of it. And supposedly he helped to decipher the Necronomicon. And then he wrote all these weird demonic stories, or he wrote them before. I don't fucking know. I don't know how the story goes. I'd have to do a little bit of research, and I'd want to be accurate. But there's this magazine that's going to be put out, and that's part of this crowdfunding thing. And if you pledge
$7,
right? And if you pledge the $7 or whatever for it, how many issues do you get, Steve?
It just says $7 pledge gets you the magazine at the digital download, $25 the physical edition.
Right, and this magazine is going to go through and explore the science behind the Lovecraftian horror. So that's the whole gist of this article. The part that I wanted Steve to focus on.
Just give me the first word and I'll find it.
Okay, newsman.
It's like broken up by pictures and videos, and that kind of thing confuses me.
Oh, look, a ball.
But I still can't find a link for this campaign. I want the campaign.
Can we move?
Hey, can I go to the
on?
next story? Yeah, I'll go to the next story, which is actually an update to a story we did Saturday morning, right?
Yes, I actually found this story. I'm doing the fucking
well,
news. I'm doing the news.
Today.
You did the show, and I'm doing the fucking news.
All right, well, read the story then.
No, you're going to read the story, but I'm going to intro the story.
We need to switch places.
No.
That would be a good show. We should switch places sometime and see how that works.
That would
well,
be...
after tonight, we already understand how...
That's bizarro Fortean Slip world.
Bizarro Fortean Slip world would be like... Oh, no, I won't even mention that on there. I was going to name people who would be our counterparts, but that just wouldn't... No, I'm not going to do it. Because why is Bizarro Superman white? He should be black because the regular...
No. All right, let's not even go into... Let's not go into comic books because it's a whole nother realm. No.
From DrSteve.com.
Right, well, anyway...
Chris tells me this is a really good show.
This is an update. We did a story yesterday on the squirting being pee or urine or piss, not a
urine
female,
would be the
not a female ejaculate. And I happened to catch this story today. I on occasion listen to a podcast done by Dr. Steve. He's a guy out of Tennessee, and he has a great podcast. It's on Riotcast. I think you can catch it on YouTube. It's called Weird Medicine. I think he broadcasts on YouTube and Ustream. Oh, excuse me. But anyway, he went and broke down this story, and I guess that there's an extreme bias to this female ejaculate being piss story. So, Steve, newsman, take it away.
Much has been made of a study on female ejaculation in the media and on Twitter and Reddit lately. The media and the blogosphere have been rife with headlines like "Scientists say female squirting is just peeing." Unfortunately, once again, the bloggers and medical media got it wrong. The study suffers from a severe case of selection bias, finding that the fluid emission was urine was the only possible outcome of the study given its structure, because they selected only women who had already had coital, is that how you say that? Coital incontinence.
Yes.
I think I actually pronounced the sciencey word right. 7 women without gynecologic abnormalities who reported recurrent and massive fluid emission during sexual stimulation underwent provoked sexual arousal. The problem is that the women with massive fluid emission certainly suffer from coital incontinence rather than enjoying female ejaculation, though they may do both. Coital incontinence is the involuntary release of urine from the bladder, sometimes during penetration, but often with orgasm and contraction of the pelvic floor muscles. Female ejaculation is the emission of a semen-like fluid from the female prostate or the Skene's glands. There is female ejaculation and there is coital incontinence. They are two separate things. In case you were wondering, female ejaculation is a fact undisputed by rational researchers. Female ejaculation orgasm manifests as either a female ejaculation or a smaller quantity of whitish secretions from the female prostate, or a squirting of a larger amount of diluted and changed urine. Coital incontinence is the urine thing. Both phenomena may occur simultaneously. The prevalence of female ejaculation is 10 to 54%. Coital incontinence is divided into penetration and orgasmic forms. The prevalence of coital incontinence is 0.2 to 66%. I don't know what all that means, but somebody sciencey does. Some women ejaculate, some women have coital incontinence, some women have both. This current study was structured only to find people with coital incontinence. It's interesting that 5 of the 7 also ejaculated. This is buried in most of the stories and is not mentioned at all in some of them. There is one interesting finding in this study that bears further investigation. These women had a rapid increase in the volume of their bladders during sexual stimulation. After a variable time of sexual ejaculation, just before squirting, US2 showed noticeable bladder filling, and US3, just after squirting, demonstrated that the bladder had been emptied again. To my knowledge, this is previously unknown phenomenon. So this study does have something to say about coital incontinence, but says it's absolutely nothing or very little about what we're really interested in, female ejaculation. End of story.
We're really interested in women's cum.
I kind of like it.
So I have to retract, I guess. I guess I may not have had a golden shower. I may, but I may not, Steve.
Well, it depends. Was she part of the study? Because if she was,
wasn't part
she
of,
had coital
she was no
incontinence.
part of the study, but obviously there
You
is
were studying.
such a thing called coital incontinence, and there's a thing called this squirting or female ejaculation. So which was it that I experienced? And I have experienced it on several occasions with different women. So who knows? We're going to have to go with probably by the
If I
numbers.
were you-
Probably by the numbers, Steve. I've probably had a golden shower.
You probably have.
Yeah, I'm going to go with yes.
I have not.
This has been episode 62 of the Fortean Slip. Thank you, Jim Payne. I got to read some emails.
Thanks a lot.
I got to read some emails. I took out the trash. And
I fucked up the whole show. That's the way it goes.
I will put out some shit this week.
I may or may not.
Some stuff. I do believe that Down the Rabbit Hole with David Batdorf will go down again sometime in the near future.
Good stuff.
Yes, it was. Check out the
Well, I only listened
check
to
out
the
the
first
Jay
10
Cooney
minutes.
interview, people.